Ciao and benvenuti to Tortellinotime. Julie has just picked the remaining kale from last year's from the garden. I'll show it to you. It's still all with the roots and some of the earth. And this has gone to seeds. If you look, it's got some yellow flowers but also some seeds. And so I'm going to wash it, strip it completely, and then I might need to freeze some. But I'm making a lovely pasta today, which involves kale and also some broccoli. It's another southern Italian recipe, absolutely delicious. And if you go access to either kale or broccoli, or both, I would highly recommend you make it. And I've decided to remove all of the leaves before washing it, as it's going to be considerably easier. So this is everything that I've got now. And also I've kept some of these yellow flowers because they are edible. And Julie kept one of the plants, as these will turn into seeds, and she will be replanting them in a few weeks' time, so that we will have more kale throughout the summer and the winter, of course. But I'll go and give this a good wash, and then we can start with the recipe. Regardless if you're picking your vegetables from your own garden or from the supermarket, always ensure that you give them a good wash with plenty of water. And I'll leave them here to dry now. And I'll start by putting a little olive oil in a saucepan, looking for a nice large clove of garlic. Look at the size of this one, a little bit too big for what I need today, so I'll use this one. And I'm gonna peel this off today rather than crushing it, as I wanted to slice it in little pieces like this. And that can be added immediately to my oil while it's still cold. Onion, I'm using a red one today, but also you can use a white one if you wish. And I've cut it in half, and I'm now slicing in about half a centimeter pieces. The garlic is beginning to sizzle, so do not leave it too long, otherwise it will burn. Add the onions immediately after that, and I'll give them a quick mix together. And I'll turn the temperature down so that my garlic don't burn, and I'll leave everything to sizzle for a good couple of minutes so that the onions become lovely and soft. I mentioned that I will be pairing broccoli with my kale. This is half a head of broccoli, approximately 200 grams, which I've washed and chopped also in very small pieces, and I can start adding it now. Quick mix followed by my kale, which has been draining nicely. And as I often say when I cook things like this, do not worry about the volume, it will go down by a lot. But before I carry on, I'll add half a glass of dry white wine, a good pinch of salt, generous amount of black pepper, quantities to taste as always with pepper, and if you like them, optional, but add a few chili flakes. They are really nice. And as it is, before it starts boiling again, I'll place the lid on and making sure that all of my kale is inside there, and I will leave it now to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes, enough for the broccoli to blanch but also for the kale to reduce in volume, and we can take a look. By the way, you can replace the broccoli with cauliflower if you wish, and also you can replace the kale with any leafy greens such as spinach or spring greens, anything that is got a large leaf. There is not necessarily the rule that you have got to go with this combination. This is a great combination because they are both of the same family, but any other variations will be also as delicious. In the meantime, I've also broken up some spaghetti. If you look, they're about a couple of inches each piece. You can use any pasta you like. This is very typical of southern Italy, and that is what they use, but you choose whatever you like. You can tell spring is on its way. You can hear most probably some noises coming from outside, people cutting the grass or trimming trees. It's quite lovely actually. And I'm preparing also some of the other ingredients. So I'm chopping at the moment some plum tomatoes in half. Here I've done a good handful, that's plenty there. And these are my olives, which I keep in olive oil, so I'm gonna get a good couple of tablespoons out. And whenever I cook olives with pasta or dishes like this, I always chop them in half. I think they release a little bit more flavor, but of course these are quite small, so I'm only chopping them in half. If you go some big olives, you might want to chop them in more than half. And these are pitted, by the way, which is even easier. And just for completeness, the last ingredient I will also be using is some Parmesan cheese. You can also use pecorino cheese or any grated cheese, as long as it's got a little bit of a punch, but obviously Parmesan or pecorino are ideal in this recipe. I am at the halfway point, so let's have a look at the vegetables. They've shrunk quite a lot already, so now that it's a little bit manageable, I'll use the opportunity to give everything a good mix. Just like this, to ensure that everything is mixed together, and now I've got some of the broccoli at the top and some of the kale at the bottom, and I'll place the lid back on, and I will leave it for a few more minutes. And I think I'm ready for the next step. Look how much they have reduced in volume by. Always amazes me. I know it's not rocket science, but I find it fascinating. I've just boiled my kettle, so the water is really hot, and I'm gonna start pouring it inside now. just enough to cover the surface of all of my vegetables, if you look, just like this. And as the water was really hot, it's boiling immediately, so I can add my spaghetti. And I'll mix everything together. And of course, one of the advantages of this recipe is that you don't have too much washing up to do, of course, as I'm cooking the spaghetti in the same pan. I leave the pasta to cook inside as normal as if you were doing it in normal hot water. The difference is that all of the starches will be trapped with my vegetables and they will become a little bit creamier. But also, a few minutes before the spaghettis are cooked, I will add my tomatoes and olives. And if you look at the moment, there's quite a bit of water there, which is what I need, of course, to cook the spaghetti. But by the time the spaghettis are cooked, you will see that most of this water will either have evaporated or, of course, will have been absorbed by my pasta, which is great because what I want is to ensure that the pasta has got a lovely flavor from all of my vegetables and the rest of the ingredients. And I'm nearly ready. Look how much liquid I've got now, which is perfect. You do want some, otherwise it'll become too dry. And I've also added the tomatoes and the olives. So I'm a couple of minutes off from being ready. The pasta is just before al dente, so that will be the perfect time for everything to amalgamate. And then I can add my cheese and we can try it. And there we go. I just removed it from the hob and I'm going to add a good handful of my Parmesan cheese. And being that it's still really hot, it will melt immediately. And also, I think I said this before, when you're adding cheese like this to pasta dishes, do not add while it's cooking, otherwise it will get stuck to your pan, whereas like this it will be attached to the pasta, which is where you want it. And the smell is really good, but before I continue, I'll add a little more olive oil and mix it in. And this is absolutely perfect. See the little bit of liquid at the bottom? That is what you're looking for. Not a lot, but lovely and creamy, and there's plenty of flavor coming out. Perfect. It's lovely and moist, so I'll try some and I'll tell you what it's like. I want to also get a little tomato in there. Difficult not to get a big spoonful. Oh, it's wonderful, delicious. It goes to show that some of the simplest things, and also you don't have to spend a fortune, very economic dish, they are often the most delicious ones. See what you think if you make it and drop me a line. It'll be interesting to see how you get on. Thank you for watching and buon appetito. Ciao.